Action.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pandooradom. I'm your host, Paul Cradle, and this is.
Your co-host, Miles Gray. Welcome, Pandora to this episode of Pandooradom. How are you? I expect you
I'm
to
doing
answer.
quite well. You?
Good.
I'm doing quite well. How are you, Miles Gray?
All right. Just one thing, Paul.
What's
Keep
been bothering
you have a giant stalk of light sort of coming out of your neck. Which no, it's
you?
actually
Yeah.
the light behind you.
Maybe I can turn that off back there. Just a
It just
minute.
looks it looked like it was radiating out of your neck before. I mean, I knew it was the
Yeah.
light behind you, but
Uh,
it reminded me of
I have kind of a
the
neck
it
halo.
reminded me of the strings of light from Carlos Castaneda, um, the
I do
Don
have a neck
Juan
halo.
alternate reality books of his with the key light strings. I
Oh,
don't know if you ever read that, but it reminded me of that.
yeah. I am familiar with Castaneda, and
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's Castaneda. I wasn't sure if there was a tilde over the N or not. Is it Castaneda or Castaneda? I was never sure. But anyway, I always mix it up.
Oh,
Good question. It's gonna keep us up at night. Okay. Is there a tilde over the N?
Castaneda
Uh-oh, see, it's already
uh,
happening. He's gonna be in
would
an insane
be
asylum,
hard.
rocking back and forth, trying to figure out if it's an N with a tilde or not. Well, you could just check.
Yeah.
You could just Google it. Although you might get a wrong answer,
Well, who was
knowing
the guy? There
Google
was
and Wikipedia.
supposedly a guy who just walked. There was a guy who just walked into the rocks at the end because you see, that's what you have to do to a character who doesn't really exist. You know that stuff was all made up, right? During the times when Carlos Castaneda was supposedly in wherever that took place, some desert state, he was actually in the library uh, getting books
Yeah,
about what he was writing about.
yeah, I
And
know.
there's,
It's largely considered a kind of a hoax. Like
oh, and he
I don't
was
know if it's a
given a,
literary
wasn't he
hoax,
given
but
a,
it's kind of a hoax. Supposedly. I
oh,
mean, we don't, I mean, we would like to believe it's not. I mean, there's still a part of me that wishes it wasn't, but I mean, most of the evidence points to it
yeah.
being a hoax, yeah. But this
I
is the thing.
remember reading.
It's in a long tradition. If it in fact is a literary hoax, it's actually within a long tradition of other literary hoaxes, which are so good as literature. You kind of say, well, who cares if it's a hoax? Because the result is so classic. You have the Ossian cycle
Oh,
by Macpherson, which was one of the most major literary hoaxes of the last 4 centuries.
okay.
You have the one of my favorite literary hoaxes is the Ern Malley hoax, where this was in Australia back in I think the 40s maybe. I could be mistaken about it, but I think it's around that time. So there were these guys who were poets in Australia, but they were pretty conservative poets, and they wrote poetry that was pretty maybe not so imaginative, and they followed the rules. They followed all the procedures for being a poet at the time, um, without getting into post or modernistic tendencies. So they were, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of parochial or something. And they were so angry about these more modernist poets who were making up words and doing all these really innovative things. They were really upset about this, and so they decided to sort of parody the modernists, and they basically just it was these two guys, and they just took a dictionary and they started, to my knowledge, they started pulling words randomly out of the dictionary and kind of ad-libbing them into their text, and they wrote this whole book of poems by a fake guy that they made up named Ern Malley, and he had committed suicide according to them, but his manuscript was published after his death by his sister, by his surviving sister. Again, totally made up people. They didn't even really exist. Uh, so then they submit it to, I forget, it's called it was like Penguin Literary Journal. I forgot what it was called, something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that they bought it, and they within that general establishment, Ern Malley became a huge success in Australian literature at the time, at least within that circle. And the literary
Uh-huh.
magazine that they were trying to trick bought it up, and they were just celebrating it and praising it left and right. They were going, "Oh, Ern Malley, it's one of the best poets of our generation," and they were just completely duped
Yeah.
because they thought it was a real poet, and that this was his profoundly personal poetry that he had written from the bottom of his soul. And of course it didn't hurt that he Oh, I just said that he took his own life. I don't know. Now we're gonna be where I'm not allowed to do that. We're gonna have to edit
No.
that. We're gonna have to edit that word out.
What? Took his own life?
He
No,
deleted
no, no.
himself because I
You're getting
said,
paranoid about
no, 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 no,
that.
Paul, Paul, Paul. I'm not paranoid about this. If you say that word, you'll be demonetized.
You can say took his life. Oh, did you say the
I
SU
don't know if you can.
word?
Yeah, I did. I think I did say that.
Oh,
You should say self-deletion, I think.
can be removed as long as you're willing to listen through again and edit. They have a trim and cut feature, so no worries. Uh, so there
Um,
were people I've heard that
man,
claimed to have met
this is
a Lilliputian. There were people who
can
claimed to have met a Lilliputian,
wait,
and
is there any chance that you can make a new meeting and send it to me? Because they're gonna demonetize this. I just realized this
no, no,
is,
no, no. The thing is, no, that can be trimmed and cut pretty easily.
but I don't know.
I'll
I don't
listen.
know what's that.
Yeah, you keep it private while you're editing, and then you just trim and cut. It's easy. I actually did it before on one of them because I accidentally slipped up. You didn't hear it, but I accidentally slipped up and said the name for what patty cakes stands for, and I
Wait, you
I just
edited
cut
it.
it.
You edited it
Yeah,
out though.
yeah, I did. It's pretty easy.
Okay, so all right, so let's just do that then.
You
All
just
right.
trim and cut, so then that way you don't have to worry so much. You can speak a little more freely as long as you just take a note. If you said something that you think you shouldn't have, just make a note that you did, and then go ahead and listen back through, and you
Yeah.
can you can just take it out. And most of the time, I think if you make a clean cut, nobody will even know that you cut it. I'll be like,
Wait, am I supposed to
it,
cut this too? Us talking about cutting it?
no, no, that's fine. Well, I mean, you can't if it's
That's
really
kind of
just
meta.
if there's something that really just doesn't add anything, I guess you can cut it. That's like totally unnecessary, like just a pure interruption. Like somebody barges in here and delivers a hamburger or something. I
But
mean, you
is
could,
that so bad? That's kind of cool too. That's like a show about
yeah, that's
nothing.
kind of yeah, that's kind of cool too. See, I would err on the side of leaving things in. So
Yeah.
as as I was gonna
I mean,
say, I have
one of
heard the
the
technique of writing
but
a poem using random words and
wait,
trying to
what's
work
that?
them in. I have heard that technique of writing poems from words drawn at random.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big sort of modernist, postmodernist. The reason I hesitate about whether it's postmodernist or modernist is because there's a lot of argumentation about which one constitutes what. Uh, but that so it's either one or the other or both. But it's a pretty common technique at this point. Also, some of the characters they used to some of these guys they used to like to have all these words listed, or they would have a page from a magazine or newspaper, and then they would cut all the words out into individual words and then repaste them, kind of like a
Yeah,
criminal
because
letter to the
then
police in the movies where they do like these word collages. So that's another technique that's been used. But these literary hoaxes, what's so cool about them, what I was trying to say before, is that even when they're already manifestly, obviously hoaxes, they often are better than their non-hoax counterparts that they're like, that they're contemporaneous with. I mean, at the time, nothing beat the Ossian cycle by McPherson. Some people still think that maybe it wasn't totally a hoax. I actually think it may not have been totally a hoax, but I think it probably largely or partially was. I won't go into
Okay, what's
details
that
about
called?
that one.
What
What's
is that?
that?
The Ossian cycle?
Yeah, it's either I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's either Ossian or Ossian. But it's Ossian. And
OS.
I have the book at home. It's basically this Scottish fellow in the 1700s, I believe, and he was really into uh these old poetic cycles from the Irish, or sort of Scots Irish legacy of bardic poetry. Uh, so he claimed to have discovered all these old cycles, and that he was merely translating them into English. That he wasn't the author, that he was merely translating them to English, and he was just the messenger. And so the way he
Cycle.
marketed it,
Mhm. So the word
cycle, it means like
cyclet.
a no cycle. It means like a
Oh,
narrative. It means like it means a version of a particular narrative in literature. So basically
somebody's coming
he
here to deliver burgers.
yeah. So hold on. So he marked, at the risk of offending your burger deliverer, let me say this, that the that McPherson marketed what he was doing as like, oh, come and get your completely authentic Celtic bardic poetry. I'm just the messenger, guys. And so it wasn't just the sort of higher class readers of the era. It was even royalty at the time who had this book as their favorite book. There were monarchs that were absolutely, you know bonkers about this book, and it was really really popular at the time. And a lot of people thought, they were completely convinced that, oh wow, yeah, these are these ancient Celtic bardic rhymes from the ancient past. They weren't rhymes, but I mean, verse. And a lot of people were duped. And then there were people around that era who started to say this can't possibly be true. There's so many reasons textually why this is probably made up. Like, the poetry is good, but there's no way that he just merely translated it. Like, he clearly made this up himself and is saying that I translated it from a previous text. Because imagine I did that. Like, what if I said, I, Miles Gray, have discovered a secret ancient Egyptian codex under my house, and I just translated it to English, and then I try to market it as ancient Egyptian uh, poetry or something. I might become a millionaire just because of that marketing technique. Maybe I'll try that. I don't be offended because there's a reference to a particular religion here, and I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah. Uh, so so we is is that the Burgermeister? um,
Yeah, somebody. Well, I'll. Can you
yeah,
put it on the table
that's the
here?
Burgermeister. Yeah,
Oh, the cat will get it if I don't have it here. Thank you.
yeah, that's the
Yeah, so
Burgermeister.
I'll eat it. I'll be. I'll have
I
my
love
dinner here in a
burgers.
minute. But,
Burgers are cool.
oh, the place is called Minute. It's called Minute Burger. Minute Burger, by the way.
Minute Burger, okay.
Yeah.
Are they halal or kosher?
So now, they must be.
No, I doubt they're
Uh,
kosher. They might be halal though. I don't know. Like,
so
do you have a lot of Muslims in your area? in your town,
Yes.
so it might be halal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, it's a chicken burger, she says.
a what? A chicken burger?
Yes. So
Okay.
that's always kosher and halal, isn't it?
No, no, it has to be slaughtered according to a particular, after a particular ritual fashion, and prayers have to be uttered over the animal. So if you just take a chicken that's just been killed in any old way, it's automatically not kosher or halal.
Gosh, let
As
me
far, I
see.
mean, that as far as I know
By the
about
way,
halal, I know for sure about kosher. I'm pretty sure that's the case as well.
ah, yeah, I was gonna look up
Because in Hebrew it's or
halal, but
in
I'm not so
Judaism it's
concerned
called the
about
laws
halal.
of shechita. It's a ritual slaughter. Am I allowed to say the word slaughter on here? Of ritual animal deletion.
Now you're getting paranoid.
No,
Well, what else are you gonna do?
it's not paranoid at all. By the way, the word for cow in Hebrew is para, so I'm getting a little bit paranoid. That was terrible. All right.
Uh, I didn't
Am
get it.
I
What was that? Was
paranoying
there a
you?
joke?
What's
Was
that?
there a joke there? Was there a
Yeah, there were
joke there?
several
I
jokes
didn't.
that were built in. I'm just being
Oh
lame,
my
don't worry.
gosh.
Uh,
Well,
no, I can see that you're kind of
what was?
checking something else out, so it's completely okay. I understand.
Oh no, I was gonna check up is chicken halal, but
But
before I do,
it can't be halal. Like I said, chicken can be halal, but if it's just if a car, runs over a chicken and then you serve it for dinner, that's not halal. That's not kosher.
oh, that's roadkill. Roadkill. Well, I don't think anybody would like to eat roadkill anyway.
A lot of people eat roadkill, man. That's a pretty common
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. What's that?
like
I
it's in the
forgot my
third world
great grandfather.
it's not necessarily, and
Yeah,
it's not so bad. I mean, if you don't have any other choice, it saves you the
I know.
manpower.
I was
Are you
just
allowed to
remembering that old
it's
song.
not roadkill,
Great grandfathers.
it's road delete, it's a road oriented deletion.
Oh, road-oriented deletion. Yeah. There was also
No, no,
there was
road mediated deletion. That's what I that's better.
there was
These euphemisms are absurd.
road roadkill helper was
Oh,
competing with market share against hamburger helper actually for some time. Um,
oh gosh. Oh, that's that's so bad.
but
All I'm saying is that if you had a chicken that you just slaughtered yourself for your own consumption, but you just, cut it and it passed away, that's not halal or kosher. You have to say particular prayers in Arabic or Hebrew, respectively, in order for it to be considered respectively halal or kosher. So basically, it's what in Judaism is called treif. It's not suitable for consumption under Jewish law if you don't say the prayers over it, and also it has to be slaughtered in a very particular way. If you don't,
uh,
if you mess up how the actual movements as well, that can also render it unfit for consumption by uh according to the religious law. So, I mean, everybody has their own opinion about the validity of all these things, but it is practical too, because if you in fact do observe it and you are an adherent to these ritual laws, obviously it's going to be important for you as a consumer. So it is practically important from that point of view, even if you challenge it on a philosophical level. Um, yeah.
yeah.
So so anyway, I just thought, literary hoax wise, I'm just saying that a lot of these things are literary hoaxes. Castaneda or Castaneda. I know there are going to be people correcting us in the comments. I can't believe you
I
don't
think
know
it's
whether it's an N with a tilde, man. You're so ignorant. You're so ignorant. So and then they're
I
going
think
to
Because
and
I have a Facebook friend with Castaneda, and I think it's
you think it's yeah, so maybe it is okay. And then you have
because some Filipinos have Spanish names, Castaneda. Yeah, there's no tilde. It's just Castaneda. So either they forgot to put it in, or it isn't there.
well, that's the
I bet
thing.
it isn't there.
Sometimes they don't put the tilde over when they write it in other languages. They sometimes leave it off, even if it is there in the original Spanish. But I think you're right. In this particular word, there's no tilde as far as I know. I mean, this is not now that we're talking about it. Let me see.
Oh, if you,
Castaneda.
yeah,
All we have to do is look up Castaneda in Spanish, and then that will no. But here now I see the what the heck? Okay, so there's an historian who is called Carlos Castaneda with a tilde, and then there's also a footballer. It says called Carlos Castaneda, also with a tilde. But then Carlos Castaneda is without a tilde. But maybe that's just the English rendering. Hold on, let's check in Spanish. That should give us what the heck. Okay, so at least on Wikipedia, it says Carlos Castaneda with no tilde, cuyo nombre de nacimiento era Carlos César Salvador Arana Castaneda. So that is with a tilde. I don't, I'm really confused now. What the heck? Wait, so is it or is it? Well, okay. Here's his signature and is without the tilde as he wrote it. So maybe it might be that in English you just don't write it because he was basically uh he was basically an American writer. I mean, I think he was born in Peru, but he was, an American after that point. So maybe he just in America wrote it without a tilde, but it originally is with a tilde because it said, like I said here, it says Carlos Castaneda with no tilde, and then it says like his name of at birth was Carlos Caesar Salvador Arana Castaneda with a tilde over the N. So I think we're both right. It's like the American version is without a tilde, and the original
oh,
Peruvian version or otherwise Spanish version is or
I see.
uh authentically like what do you call it what the heck is the word it's not just Spanish uh what is the word which starts with Castilian, like the Castilian this proud sort of Spanish nobility it is with the tilde. Okay. That's a whole other thing about we're gonna get into Central and South American indigenousness versus Spanish nobility. Uh, oh, that's a whole thing, man. Okay, anyways, I will get it. So, um, I have a good friend who they're from Bolivia originally, and he he was telling me that his father was completely against the idea that they would have any indigenous blood, and he was completely convinced that they were pure blood Spaniards. He said, "There's no doubt we absolutely are." So my friend, he said, "I don't really care what we are. I just would find it interesting to know." So he did a genetic test, which who knows how accurate these mail order tests are. But in any case, he orders this genetic test and it came back as majority indigenous uh, blood with, some Spanish admixture that is from Spain, I mean. And he showed the results to his father and he was like, yeah, right, I don't believe this test. We're proud Spaniards. So this is a real thing in Central and South America, which is kind of a sad thing. I traveled a lot in Central and South America back in the early 2000s, and I ran into that mentality a lot. That's one of the sort of legacies of the Spanish conquistadors in Latin America as they left this weird like what do you call it? How do you say tasbih complex about identity, genetic or ethnic identity. It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it also has led to great literature. On the other hand, this difficult thing, there's this thing called La Raza Cósmica in Mexico, which I think is related to that idea. So they were able to kind of what I call sublimate that sort of di dichotomy. I don't know if it's a dichotomy. I don't know. I'm losing everybody here. I don't know if anybody's even listening to what I'm ranting about, but I actually think this is really interesting. So tell me
Hmm.
in the likes, tell me in the comments, guys, if you care about what I'm talking about right now. Um, like let's vote. Did you like the N versus N with tilde sub conversation, or do you like this crazy anthropology conversation about indigenousness and being Spaniard? Vote in the comments, guys, for your favorite arcane nonsense. This isn't nonsense, actually, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who might think it is. Okay, Miles, just stop talking. You're getting crazy, man. You're getting completely. Oh, look, I thought this was an interview to be a teacher in China. Am I off here? I was just trying to be as like ebullient as possible, even if I wasn't making much sense. Oh, this isn't an interview to be a teacher in China? Oh,
Oh
I'm
no,
so
it is.
sorry about this, sir. I think I might have had the wrong Zoom
It
call here.
is. No, you're right. We just weren't supposed to tell you.
Wait, is that what
It's
our whole friendship has been for these, what has it been, 13, 14 years? This has been one long interview to work at a school in China as an English teacher? That's a really long
it's a
interview
clandestine.
process.
See, because if you knew that you were in, if you knew you were in an interview, you could cheat. We don't want you to know. We just want to observe you.
But why would you want to do it for almost 15 years without me making any progress,
Well,
seemingly?
see, school actually shut down during that time, but we just kept going because we
So what
didn't
am I
have any instruction.
interviewing for?
Well, we don't know. We just never
Wow,
had
this
any
is
instruction.
totally like a Kafka novel, man. Oh man, that's crazy. I love that.
He got laid off. Nobody ever told him about it.
The thing is, I can
Uh,
totally imagine something like this happening in the real world, like after COVID. I mean, yeah, it sounds absurd, but it actually
so,
could be seems actually plausible to me
the
now.
the
So things have
Eskimos
changed.
see this tendency to have things halal or kosher actually is a pretty universal thing. If you're closer to the level of killing your own animal or cutting your own, getting your own meat, because the Eskimos would slit the eyes of the polar bear before slaughtering the polar bear itself,
What was
so
that?
that
What was that for?
so that the spirit of the polar bear would not see them.
I don't think we're supposed to say Eskimos. I'm sorry. Sorry to.
Eskimos,
I
but
think
they were
I
Eskimos.
think people
No,
say.
they were.
I think you say Inuit.
Oh no, they were Eskimos.
Yeah, but the Eskimos
They
are
were an
Inuit,
Inuits
aren't
too.
they?
Well, yeah,
I'm
that's
just
a
trying
good
not to
point.
get demonetized, man.
In,
Not that I should
what's the
overly
difference
worry about it.
between
What's
Eskimo and Inuit?
Well, Eskimo is considered
We
by some Eskimos some Inuits themselves, not Inuits with the tilde, to be derogatory, I think. Even though it's common, I think it's still probably pretty commonly used by many people.
so
I
we
mean,
should be
there.
saying Inuit.
Oh, you're saying it with the tilde too, then. Not that you'd
What?
write it, but
We
I
should be
mean,
we should be saying Inuit kiss instead of Eskimo kiss. Even that
I
song,
guess.
it
Well, I mean, the
started
thing
with
is,
an Eskimo kiss. No,
in linguistics, I think you have something called Eskimo alute. I don't know if you say alute it's Aleut, but it's Eskimo alute. I always say alute. Eskimo alute languages, but I don't know. I think that Eskimo is considered to be derogatory at this point. Which I mean, this is what I think it's called euphemistic drift. Is like you use within a particular generation, one word is accepted and it's considered to be relatively neutral for lack of a more neutral term. And then within a generation or even less, because of euphemistic drift, or I forget what it's called exactly, suddenly that becomes a faux pas kind of word. And then that itself becomes unacceptable. And then in the next generation, you have to replace it and replace it and replace it forever ad infinitum.
Oh my gosh, this says, I just looked this up. I did not think there was anything wrong with the word Eskimo. I thought that's what they were. It says some Inuit, Yupik, Aleuts, and other individuals consider the term Eskimo, which is of disputed etymology, to be pejorative or even
Yes,
offensive.
bingo. That's what I was
How
trying to
come
say.
I didn't
You should
know,
listen to
guys.
your friend Miles,
Oh,
Paul.
oh my, oh, sorry. I said the word Eskimo, but I'm being sarcastic, but I was being polite, describing what I had known, that they're hunters who I
Okay, but what?
admired.
Okay, but would it be polite if you like if you were being polite, but you said the N word? But I was being polite about it.
Well, if you didn't know, though, if you
If
really
you
didn't
didn't
know,
know,
I
if
don't
you
think
didn't
I
ask,
don't think there's I don't
well,
think there isn't anybody who didn't think that the N word was pejorative. They used it specific. They always used it specifically as
look,
a pejorative.
you picked that word. Get it? You picked that word.
Pick that word. I don't know.
because because remember it said you pik, and then I said you picked. It was a pun of
Oh,
many of
oh, the you
many.
pick.
It was a dumb
Some
dumb pun.
Inuit you pick or yeah. Eskimo continues to be used within a historical, linguistic, archaeological, cultural context.
Does it say anything
Governments and
about the Thule people or the Thule people? Is like Thule? Because I think that was their ancestor, the ancestor people.
don't see it here. No, but it says the governments in Canada and the United States have made moves to cease using the term Eskimo in official documents. Well, in social
Yeah,
studies, I learned Eskimo as
yeah,
if there were nothing wrong.
it's
And
outdated
see,
now. Yeah, I mean I
and
mean it's, but like I said, it's
they,
euphemistic drift. It might be, a particular word might be acceptable now, and then it won't be acceptable in another few years. I mean, but then that replacement
yeah,
will become
because
unacceptable too. So it's kind of a
mm,
losing battle. There's no way to really have a
yeah,
word that's always acceptable at any given time for
when
things of this nature which are
when we
controversial.
see, Miles, when we used it, we didn't think there was anything offensive about it. And actually, the way I used it, I obviously was just totally oblivious because I was speaking honorably about something that I knew their people did, which I consider sacred to the polar bear. They would slit the eyelids so that they couldn't see them dismembering the body. The polar
Yeah.
bear soul couldn't see, their spirit couldn't see them slaughtering the body, which
That's the
is
more important thing, though.